Welcome back to another episode of I'm Really Getting Desperate for Video Ideas, this time featuring one of the kings of the term winning more. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the term win more, it's basically a term used to describe cards with effects that, although are not bad, are only good in situations where you are probably already winning, or at least favoured. It's like if during the first episode of the anime, we get to witness Yugi with his Blackland Fire Dragon about to finish off Joey's Kakamusha of the Blue Flame, except Yugi decides to whip out a bazooka. Sure, a bazooka is a pretty effective way of dealing with Joey, but Yugi probably already had the win with the dragon, so it effectively had the same outcome. Spiral Spear Strike is a card with the effect if Gaia the Fierce Knight, Swift Gaia, or Gaia the Dragon Champion attacks a defense position monster, you can inflict piercing damage to your opponent. And if Gaia the Dragon Champion inflicts battle damage to your opponent due to this effect, you may draw 2 cards, then discard a card. The reason I call this card a prime example of a win more card is because if you are able to successfully attack into an opponent's monster, destroy it, and inflict battle damage to your opponent without a response, chances are you're probably already winning, or at the very least in a board state where your opponent cannot really have a whole lot. So you're probably better off running something like a Cosmic Cyclone to help remove your opponent's back row and develop a board state in the first place, rather than running this card that helps you draw 2 cards in an event where you've already kind of won the board. So when I saw this skill pop up when farming Dark Side Dimensions Yugi, I initially wasn't going to do a video on it, as I already knew the deck list wouldn't be all that great. But as the new box seems to have been a complete letdown in terms of video content, I decided I'll give in. Let's make a video using the man riding a dragon. So here's the deck list. The entire aim of the deck is relatively simple. Try to fusion summon Sky Galloping Gaia the Dragon Champion using 1 Gaia monster, which in this case will be the new boy, Lord Gaia the Fierce Knight, and 1 Dragon type monster, which in this case is either Blue Eyes or Keeper of Dragon Magic, which also happens to be a pretty solid way of searching for Polymerization. Sky Galloping Gaia has the effect, whilst on the field it is treated as Gaia the Dragon Champion, and on summon you may add a Spiral Spear Strike from deck or graveyard to hand. When declaring an attack on an opponent's monster, you may change the battle position of that monster. This effect, on top of the new skill Spiral Spear Strike, allows you to have 2 Spiral Spear Strikes on the board, along with an effect that can activate them, so you can draw 4 cards and discard 2 cards. Now, if we had a main phase 2, this effect might actually be relevant, as we could use these cards to try and further develop the board state. But since this all happens during the battle phase and we don't have a main phase 2, the best thing I could come up with was just stuff in a couple of Silver's Cry in an attempt to further shit on your opponent by resurrecting a Blue Eyes discarded via Spiral. Now the deck, as you can probably tell, doesn't really have a whole lot going for it in terms of going first, as its main boss monster has absolutely 0 effect if you're not going second, and summoning a 2600 attack Beatstick doesn't really do a whole lot. So I did include a couple of King of the Swamps so you can cheese out a Dark Cavalry or a Buster Blader, which are definitely stronger openers, but to be honest, if you lose the initial coin toss, there's a good chance you'll just get OTK'd. You could try swapping out some of the cards for maybe a Sphere Karibo, as it does have some decent synergy with the deck, as hand traps being the only other cards that are useful when drawn via Spiral outside of quick play spells, since they can actually be beneficial before your turn comes around again. But personally, the more I try to make this deck more competitive, or at least give it a bit more survivability, the less fun I had with it, as let's be honest, no matter what you do with the deck, your main boss monster is a shitty turn 2 win more card. So the deck by default will always be a shitty turn 2 win more deck, and no amount of hand traps or fiendish chains is going to stop that. Basically, if you're looking for a fun new skill to mess with, feel free to mess around with this list. But if you're looking for something to climb with, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. I did climb a couple of ranks in Plat with it, but let's be honest, there's no demotion in Plat. It really doesn't count for anything. Alright guys, that's it for the talking part of the video. The rest of the video, we'll just see a bunch of gameplay showcasing the deck list in action. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new around here, comment if you have any questions or feedback, make sure to check out my Discord, Patreon and Twitch down below. And if you happen to have $1 lying around and wish to support me, feel free to click that join button down below to support me directly, as well as gain access to a few little neat perks. Enjoy the gameplay!
Duel! Big Brother. Can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.